if I can plug something, we just
Yep.
opened up the pre-orders for the Bomber Cyberpunk vinyl soundtrack. So that's a
Oh,
Ooh.
record in there in this sleeve that is got 32 tracks, so the whole soundtrack of the game. So
Alrighty. That's
yeah,
pretty
get on
hectic.
top of that if
Okay.
you want. Yeah,
Awesome.
I got it.
awesome.
Okay. Cool. How's it
Heyo,
going?
good morning.
What's up? Welcome
Yeah.
to the Neighborhood Radio. We're
Thank you.
having Dion
Thank you.
Koster on, director of Bomber
Yep.
Cyberpunk, Lethal League, the entire team Reptile. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, it's been a Monday, almost at the end of the workday here in the Netherlands,
So good.
and I see it's still dark out there for you guys.
For Zeke.
Well, so for me, it's currently 3 a.m. In
I
Australia.
It's
oh,
8
like
a.m.
that.
right
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
I see you. See.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Hey, yeah. How are you
feeling
guys doing?
surprised. Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
chilling.
it's 3 a.m. I'm surprisingly not that tired. Actually, but yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah, over here
Okay.
we had a squall the other day, so we're deep in the winter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. How's your day at work, man?
Good. Yeah. It's a regular day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm blocking out level designs for people to take and work out, and having some meetings, having some talks, that stuff.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was
What
about to ask, what does your average day look like?
Whoa. A good one. I think it depends on the day of the week, but oftentimes I will have a few people needing feedback or direction, and I will do some meetings with them personally and show them some reference or tell them what's supposed to be the case, all that stuff, and then hopefully I will then quickly get back into actually making stuff. I'm still very hands-on. We've got about like 10 people. It varies, uh, but that means I'm still doing a lot of stuff on my own, which I like. So then I
Mhm.
would be drawing characters. Uh, uh, yeah, like I said, some block out level design,
Yep.
or trying to figure out some game design problems.
Yeah. Okay.
And well, a lot of it is also programming. I should say,
Mhm.
spend like half my time maybe programming, but it comes in waves. Yeah.
Yep. And what the level designs are you allowed to share what those are for?
Well, actually, it's funny that people aren't exactly aware, but we've already mentioned that we're gonna make more similar to Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. So
Ooh. Okay, that's
it's
exciting.
basically, yeah, it's basically already announced that we're making not a direct sequel, but certainly a game in the same spirit. So I'm
Okay,
already level designing for the new game. Yeah.
that's exciting. So you guys aren't adding any more content to Bomb Rush then? You're just moving on to the next game?
Yeah, so for a single player game like that, it makes more sense to do it in the next game than to continuously add updates. That would make more sense for a
Yeah.
multiplayer game. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so not doing any DLC or anything.
No, not that it's planned right now. No.
Yeah.
I love
Cool.
hearing that because that's really rare
Yeah, it's
in
re-
the gaming
it's
industry nowadays.
yeah, it's refreshing, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. I've myself been quite tired of service games and all that
Mm. Oh my god, don't even get me
nickel and
started.
diming. Yeah.
It's interesting because you've had two games that have been Lethal League, which is a very very popular competitive game, and Bombers Cyberpunk, which are very it's a very full fledged single player game, but they're both whole experiences that didn't necessarily capitalize on the live service wave of the last 10 years or so. And I want to know how important was that to you?
Uh, well, there's even a game before that. There's Megabyte Punch, which was a beat 'em up platformer type of game. little bit
Mhm.
Smash Brothers, um, and yeah, then Lethal League. Uh, well, I never really got myself into those games. I'm not a actually person who plays a lot of multiplayer games, and it really was fate bringing certain people together that we saw like, okay, multiplayer games actually works really well on Steam, where primarily we were releasing,
Mhm.
and we yeah, really put our best efforts in to make it work. And I knew that it was important to get it to a wider audience. But myself, I don't really play a lot of multiplayer games, so I don't have affinity for these like design principles that you bring in, like what's the term? Um, Not persistence, but retaining. Well, there's terms and buzzwords for retaining
Right.
your audience,
Yeah.
bringing them back with specific events, or you get an extra skin if you are at this event, and it's only
Mhm.
one time thing
Right.
only, and that's how you FOMO them into staying with you all the time, or get the
Like
login
Fortnite.
bonus, all that. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was just like never into those games, so the
Mm.
design of those doesn't come to me. Uh, so yeah,
So it was just natural. It wasn't like a conscious decision.
yeah, yeah. It's just not part of my vocabulary. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's fine if people are into that and people want to make that and all that. I just want to really make what I want to make. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And so when you started, just going off of making, I guess, what you want to make. So when you started making Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, was it sort of intentional that it would be sort of a Jet Set Radio spiritual successor, or did that come along as you started to make the game and realized it was a bit similar?
Well, it was actually when, let's see, we made the first Lethal League, and then that was a hit, and then I was
Hmm.
already considering what I call a trick game.
Yeah.
So something like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, or Jet Set Radio, or SSX, something like
Yeah.
that. It was
Mm.
already floating around, but then like, oh well, this one is a hit. Let's try it again and size up in the meantime, because
Hmm.
yeah, the first Lethal League was like a 2D game, and it was quite a big step to completely move the 3D graphics and also have a giant world and all these animations and things in it. So we first moved up to 3D, and to multi-platform and all that with Lethal League Blaze, and then uh, we felt really confident to make this trick game idea that has been in my head, and I have notes everywhere, all very old notes of like how you could do certain uh, tricks and combo systems and all that.
So you already
And
had. Oh, go on.
yeah, yeah. So I already had the idea floating around, but certainly Jetson Radio is one of the inspirations. But we never set out to
Yeah.
make a spiritual
Yeah. Okay.
successor.
Yeah. Okay. That's super interesting. Yeah. I like. It's yeah. The fact that you brought up like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, that was like the first game that popped in my mind when I started playing Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. For sure. Like I really liked the I think yeah that influence really comes through. I think with the emphasis on combos and high scores and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
what's your
mean,
favorite?
my
Oh no,
favorite
sorry.
what?
Go on. I was just gonna ask what your favorite Tony Hawk Pro Skater game is.
Ooh, ooh. So yeah, growing up, I played a lot of Pro Skater. I think it was two. Yeah, Pro Skater 2. But that was just because my friends had a Nintendo 64, and we would have sleepovers and just play the hell out of that. And it inspired us also to skate more. And I was skating a lot growing up, uh, skateboard here and there, but mostly inline skating.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's really fun how a game like that can get you out on the street and do all these things
Yeah.
and know all the tricks. Like we knew all the names and all
Mm.
the techniques from the video game, which then
Yeah.
informed us also to
Mm.
look these things up online.
Mm.
Uh, Early websites that were there then.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for nostalgia reasons, I would say Pro Skater. Well, I would just say Pro Skater 3 is my
Okay.
favorite now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I grew up playing Pro Skater 4. Um, and I
Yeah,
have like
yeah,
heaps of good memories with that one.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. What do you think about Underground?
to be honest, I haven't played it.
Oh, okay.
I really wanted it, but never got it. Probably should go back and play it though. I really
Yeah,
wanted
I'd
the
say give it a chance.
yeah, I really when I was like younger, I really wanted the one that was on Wii that had like the physical this like the physical
Oh,
skateboard, Tony
was it
Hawk
Project
Ride.
8?
I'm not sure what it was called. Maybe Tony Hawk Ride or something like that.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, but it had like an actual like skateboard that you would put on the ground and like connect to the console, and it was pretty weird to be honest.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I had to look at like everything because I do a little research and then I sort of go by every trick game, see how they
mm,
approach things, and I looked at basically all
yeah,
the pro skater games.
mm,
And Underground, I mean, Underground is kind of corny at times. It was
hmm
really like that. They started to think like, oh, Jackass is popular, so
Mm.
yeah.
let's
No,
make it more of a
definitely.
focus.
That's definitely the vibe I get from like I've watched like Dom streams Underground sometimes on Twitch and watch him play it. Definitely gotten that vibe from it.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah. So
need
that's
to
going on, and
need to
then
check it out.
yeah, later later skate like the actual skate game of course and
Oh, Skate 3,
uh
classic.
skate 3, yeah,
Yeah.
and missing skate 4, I guess it's
Mm,
not there yet.
yeah. Something I actually am super interested in asking about is the dancing aspect of Bomber Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Like I used to break dance when I was younger.
Oh,
Really?
And I also used to do popping.
Hey.
Um, and so that was,
wow.
to be honest, that was the main thing that fascinated me when I saw BLC trailers and footage. Was I was really interested in seeing how the dancing would be integrated in the game.
You did
Um,
all
Yeah,
the dancing, right, Dion?
well, not all of
The
it,
the
but I did
choreography.
a lot of it.
Okay.
yeah, so I was just wondering like what your background with dancing was and how that became a part of the game as well.
Yeah, yeah, I mean it's a pretty big point in my life that I was about. Well, I was dancing already. Like as soon as I could walk, I was dancing around. But I really started to take it seriously when I was like 13 or something. When I started breaking,
Yeah.
much like yourself probably.
Yeah, I was around
And
that age when I was breakdancing. Yeah.
yeah, it's a fun age. You're really
Hmm.
trying new stuff, and a lot of people find their passion that time.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I took classes and found friends there, and we immediately went to Amsterdam to go to events and to train with other people there.
Yeah.
And I made so many friends, and it was really.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Uh, I think skating was the first thing where I made a lot of friends and started doing stuff on the street. But dancing was really the one that took over when I
Hmm.
was 13, and then I learned breaking first, and then our
Yeah.
teacher happened to be one of the pioneers in the Netherlands. Like in the 80s, he started, so he just saw stuff on TV from America, and like they videotaped everything, and they were trading tapes to learn everything, and
Yeah.
so he is familiar with not only breaking but also popping and locking,
Yeah.
and he just started to teach those things as well to
Yeah.
us.
That's
And so I got a good background of breaking, popping, and locking.
yeah. That's really
And
cool.
yeah, and it helps out with your vocabulary, and you start to see things a bit more freely.
Yeah.
And from there, I also learned other styles in Amsterdam, house dance, um, more like a new style hip hop, and even crump when it came
Ooh.
in 2005. That was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I did a bit of that too, and
Awesome.
yeah, I just like I love all of it. But I think breaking and locking are
Yeah.
the styles closest to me.
They're the
Yeah,
two that I did in my teenage years for sure.
nice. Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
still ongoing. So we made a little community
Mm,
around my hometown region,
yeah.
and like the team Reptile office actually is also a training space. So we do sessions here every week.
Wow, really? That's
That's
awesome.
awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. All the recordings, the motion capture recordings, are also done here,
So
and I
you
could
would say,
immediately get the
oh, sorry.
community involved. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So would you say that like dancing then is part of a culture of Team Reptile?
I would say so. Yeah, with especially me. Like, of course, it's hard to come by people who make games and do dancing, so
Mm.
I have to bring that in mostly. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's essential because not only is it me providing movement for the game, but it's also where this whole style comes from. It's my entry
Yeah. Yeah.
into hip hop, and through that also graffiti and
Yeah.
uh, all the elements basically,
Yeah. They're all
which
sort
have
of
all found a way into the game. I think I've got all elements, right? It's like
yeah.
uh, breaking, graffiti, DJing,
Mm.
rapping, and the culture itself. Yeah, if
Yeah.
according to KRS-One, you got
Yeah.
all the elements. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
What
So oh no, sorry, you go, Rick.
I was gonna ask, what, you said you had this idea for a trick game and the general philosophy behind the gameplay for a while. How did
Yeah.
you have a kind of soundtrack in mind that kind of lived next to it, or how did that aesthetic come into life?
Okay, so yeah, so of course we were getting inspired by a lot of things, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but also Jet Set Radio. When I looked at my own, like, where I came from in the culture, it was mostly from a hip hop side, through dancing also, and of course, punk and rock styles are part of like street culture through skating, and punk is also a lot of it is on the street and things. But when I looked at like where I come from, I started to see more and more that the hip hop side, and I'm not only talking like purely hip hop, but also funk and everything that derives from funk. So funk, we got disco, we got house through that, and breakbeats, and several ways to do hip hop. All of it really comes from well, I should say funk instead of hip hop, really. But that's where I'm coming from, and that's where I'm most familiar with. I've been doing this stuff now. It's more than 20 years. I think it's 21 years that I've been dancing and been involved in hip hop here in the
That's
Netherlands.
awesome. That is awesome.
So I'm very, very familiar with it, and also know a lot of people, know a lot of dancers, know a lot of DJs, producers, rappers from around here, and I'm on a tangent now. What was the question?
I was just asking, like, like, what were the like main decisions that went into constructing the aesthetic of your soundtrack? Because it's
Oh yeah, back
very,
to the soundtrack.
it has a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
personality and character.
Yeah. So for me, I started to see like, okay, if I have to express myself, then I'm going to do it through funk and funk derivatives, and so that was a big part. And of course, I looked at how Jet Set Radio was representing street culture as well, and I thought that was like, it's very bold and loud. That's what I like about it. And so I knew that I was going to try get Hideki involved as well.
Yeah, I wanted to also ask, how did that come about? Because that's the chain of events for that. That's really big.
So people ask this a lot, but actually it's quite simple. That I knew that I want to get him involved. He is very active on the internet, so I just shot him email. I think he was even featured in Lethal League, Lethal
Yeah.
Blaze. So I was early on. I was already digging his stuff, and wanted to get him involved with the things I do, because I feel like his style is it's so funky, and I connect with it a lot through skating, through the games, but also through dancing. I could feel his like influence from Prince, and he's like, percussion is crazy, and his vocal chops are really fun. Breakbeat stuff. So yeah, I wanted to get him involved as soon as I can. Just shot him emails, which sometimes got replied, and it was kind of tricky to get a hold of. But once I made it clear, like, okay, we have a budget, we have a schedule, everything is set for you to go. Then he was understanding, like, okay, this is a serious thing, because he probably gets a lot of requests from people.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so basically just through the internet.
Yeah, it was interesting because we interviewed Tumelo on here a week or two ago, and he also mentioned that despite being super active on the internet, that Naganuma is a pretty hard guy to get a hold of.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, true.
yeah,
Yeah. But
super
yeah,
super
I really
super
appreciate him
interesting.
for giving us his time and some of his art. Yeah.
Was he one
Yeah.
of the first composers that you went to work with for the soundtrack?
Um, let's see. Don't think so. Don't think he was one of the first. Um, yeah, from my own network is easiest, right?
Right.
Just from the dance community, we have DJs and producers here who also dance, and I know them through that. Like the Gove is one who did the first track that you hear when you start in the police station in Bomber Cyberpunk.
Well, sick.
He's got a kind of a Neptune's next level Neptune's kind of feel to his beats, and
Yeah,
yeah, I always knew that I wanted to feature him, so
Mm.
that was a given. And he's also a dancer; he's a b-boy,
that's cool.
and so yeah, it's easy to connect. And then things
Mhm.
just get rolling. You can just also see them in person much easier.
Yeah,
So yeah, and also the soundtrack. I should say the soundtrack itself is like generally built to match the dance styles that you see the crews doing. So
yeah,
we have a lot of electro funk, and this is Zapp and Roger inspired stuff that was around in the 80s, which has all the talk box stuff and everything. And to me, that still sounds super futuristic. I wish that people made more talk box music in general.
uh-huh.
Love that
Yeah,
stuff. Daft Punk also, of course, using it. But yeah, that stuff goes really well with popping, right?
yeah,
That's the music to dance popping to. And then
uh-huh.
I think the next crew that you will face is Eclipse Crew, and those do house dance. So got a lot of house or house adjacent tracks in that mixtape that you hear while you're in their territory and everything, and so on
Hmm.
for the other styles. So that really helped me categorize things and um, yeah, put them in a context where it made sense to have them. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a great way
because
to dichotomize everything.
yeah,
One question I had from a gameplay perspective, you know, I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but what I've really liked to have seen in the game is, obviously you battle each crew, through skate like score battles, and that's how you defeat them. But I would have liked to have seen a rhythm game component maybe where like if
ah
you challenge
yeah.
each crew to like a dance battle. And I was a little bit like, oh okay, like that would have been really awesome. So I was just wondering whether that was ever considered or um
Yeah, well, you're right on the money that we did have a rhythm game at some point where
yeah.
you would be dancing and then beating. Well, I think it was something that could happen when you met another NPC, but I guess it could
Okay.
also happen when dealing with crews like that.
Mm.
But yeah, it was made at some point, and it's well, it turned out to be quite a different direction that it
Yeah,
didn't
okay.
really play back into the game much.
Yeah, I mean that's fair
So
enough. Like I say, like I'm not disappointed by the fact that it wasn't
yeah,
included, but just
yeah,
as
you would
someone who
expect
was
it, right? Yeah,
yeah, like as someone who was mainly I guess attracted to the game because of the dancing, I was
yeah,
like, yeah, if you ever did a game like that again, I guess it would be something that would be pretty cool to
yeah,
um
yeah, and it's
include.
absolutely on my mind to
Yeah.
involve dancing more into the mechanics of the game and not only be like
Mm.
a visual little thing you can do.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was too bad. There is the little thing that you can dance with certain NPCs and it will respond to it
Mm.
and be like, oh, you can do the same dance as me. But
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, it's just a button,
Yeah.
which is nice that you can do it at any time and
Yeah.
do the dance you
No,
like at least. But
absolutely.
yeah, it was on my mind. Yeah, It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, I wish I could get that one in or something. There's some
Yeah.
challenges when making rhythm games within other games
Mm.
where it's kind of crazy, but a lot of people cannot do it. They
Yeah.
cannot do rhythm games at all.
Mm.
You know,
Have
if you
you
never,
have you
yeah,
ever played the Yakuza franchise?
I have not actually. No, I've
Yeah.
looked at it, but I have not played it.
Yeah, so in Yakuza 5, so you've got 5 playable characters, and that game is like primarily a beat 'em up, like fighting game. But there's one character that you play as, and in her section, it switches completely over from fighting to rhythm games, because she's like a pop idol singer character.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And so I guess yeah, that would be like good inspiration for like how to integrate like a
yeah,
rhythm game section into an otherwise completely unrelated genre.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I might take a look at it. Yeah,
Yeah, it
because I'm
was like it
sure
was.
I'm sure it can be done. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
also I'm looking right now. I'm looking at B-Boy the game. Do you know it?
no, I'm not familiar.
B-boy.
Okay, so there is a breaking game completely focused on B-Boys called
Yeah,
B-Boy,
yeah.
and you actually do it's also a trick game. So you kind
Ooh,
of play it like you play Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
yeah, this
And
looks pretty
yeah, a
cool.
lot of my friends, like, a lot of my dance friends, actually played it, and I've
Mm,
borrowed it now for
PlayStation
me
2.
to go into. And I love the idea that you can like really
mm,
dance, really like do the combinations on your buttons, and then
yeah,
do the tricks and
that's
moves.
sick.
So that is interesting, but um, yeah, it wasn't like, even for dancers, it wasn't like a super fun game, except for everybody really liked the subject, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, but still, I think that one is an interesting one too that I'd like to dive in. Yeah.
Have you played Hi-Fi Rush?
No, I've seen it, but I haven't played
No.
it.
Yeah, that's another awesome game. Like the way that that integrates sort of rhythm into the actual combat of the game, um, was pretty awesome. It has like a constant metronome. And if you hit
Yeah,
your combos, yeah, like in time, then you get like better damage and stuff. It was really
yeah. I've seen it, yeah, and I went. I was uh, I was surprised to see like the lengths they had to go to. I guess they were
yeah,
also dealing with a crowd that wasn't familiar with rhythm games, and
yeah.
then they had to like pull everything out to
Mm,
just to get them on the beat. Like
mm,
everything has to move on the beat.
yeah.
The characters snapping on it, like this
Yeah.
visual pops everywhere. Just this is the beat. You can do it.
That that game has a boss fight set to a song by The Prodigy. And it was a song that I used to breakdance to when I was a kid.
Oh,
So I was like, when I got to that boss fight and that song started playing, I was just like, hell yeah. And I just immediately got like
sick.
way better at the game.
Yeah.
um, so yeah. So one question I had was like, just sort of going on with from the soundtrack in Bomb Rush. Obviously, you already said sort of explained a little bit about the wide, variety of genres that are in the game. I was wondering which of those genres is like aligned with your taste as opposed to what you thought would go well with the game, if that makes sense. Like,
Which of the games is aligned?
sorry, like which parts of the soundtrack are more your personal taste?
Oh, like that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Basically, it comes down to that everything is
Yeah.
my personal taste.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but they will go through a filter though. I will.
Mm.
So I will dig a track, often on SoundCloud, is where I find a lot of stuff,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I'll be bumping it. Maybe I'll be dancing to it or something, and then
Mm.
I'll let my business partner Tim. I'll let him listen to it, and he's
Yeah.
not into, all the same stuff that I'm into. So he's
Mhm.
more like a layman impression of it.
Yeah.
So we're like,
Mhm.
okay, what do you think when you hear this?
Mm.
And when he's like completely bored out of his mind, I'm like, damn, maybe this is a little bit
That's unfortunately that's the
like,
most important one.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because I
maybe it's
just
like,
noticed.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say I noticed like I think there's a few songs in there like Condensed Milk that are like a bit of an outlier in terms
Oh
of the
yeah.
overall vibe. So yeah, I was just wondering. So obviously that was a song I guess that you would have heard and been like, okay, this slaps. Like I have to get this in the game.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That was crazy. I got it through Twitter. There was this account called Tokyo Fashion, and they were always posting how the kids in Harajuku are dressing, and
yeah,
it's like really creative stuff that these kids are doing. And
mm,
one of them, um, or actually two of them, were these girls dressed up in a sort of like cyber uh, Y2K kind of thing. And
mm.
then the account said like, "Oh, they actually are SoundCloud rappers." I'm like, what? They're like cutesy Harajuku girls, and no, they're
That
SoundCloud
is
rappers. Okay, so,
that is
so
crazy.
I had to click through and check them out on SoundCloud, and then I uh, encountered this track specifically, "Condensed Milk," which was cutie-ish, but still the beat. I don't know. It made it like
No,
really
the
hard.
beat go. I was gonna say the beat goes pretty hard for that song. Like those 808s,
Yeah,
like they hit.
yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah. And there was
yeah.
something about that cuteness that made it even harder to go uh, really cute on something. It's like, some rappers put on
Mm,
strange voices, squeaky voices or things, and that goes really
yeah.
hard. So
Mm,
it's kind of similar to that, where I felt it like, damn, I really hope I can get it in.
yeah.
And yeah, and again, I think this was through Twitter DMs.
Yeah.
We could arrange
That's
it.
awesome.
But yeah, once I actually had it, then I was like, what do I do with this track? It's very difficult
Yeah. Yeah.
follow this up, or to go from like a Hideki track to this is kind of jarring.
Mm,
So so yeah, I just improvise. Once I just go for like sick tracks, and then once I have them, I improvise and think like, okay,
yeah.
maybe I could put them here, maybe there, but I will let
Yeah.
it sometimes be a little bit jarring, because I think that
Yeah.
is actually quite
Yeah.
a lot more interesting to have it as an extra layer to the game, instead of
Uh-huh.
like uh, if nowadays, if you have specific like game composers that make the music you want to have in the game, and they
Mhm.
will make something that, like, they will adapt and make something that fits it exactly, so that there's only like one note in
Yeah.
aesthetic.
I see what you're
But
saying.
when I like just bring in songs that I think are sick, then you've got multiple
Mm,
things going on, and the music
yeah.
is its own personality, right? The people are
Mm,
doing their own thing that they like doing, and I just license it, and
yeah.
then you got more layers going on
Mm,
that could give you something different,
yeah.
like doing crazy backflips on this cutesy trap song. Then
Yeah.
that's like another level to me. So
Yeah.
so I had to find the right moment to put it, and eventually you
The
have a little
hideout.
hideout, yeah, where you're more
Yeah.
chill, and then it's like, oh, of course, put it right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that I think that was some of my favorite moments in the game were the ones where the like unexpected stuff would come in. Like, obviously most of the game is like fairly funky, like hip hop, like sort of influenced soundtrack. But like one of my favorite moments is when you fight like a big robot and the song "Chucking Up" by Rezo comes on.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and I was not I'm a huge fan of old school dubstep. And I was not expecting a song like that to like be in the game. So I was like vibing so hard when that came on. I almost like didn't want the boss fight to end. uh,
Yeah, that
but
was another like SoundCloud discovery.
yeah,
Um, that Rezo, of course, I think he comes from drum and bass actually, and he went
yeah,
into uh, dubstep like that with that specific track. He has some other
uh
like crazy stuff, but I love it when the artists are
yeah,
jumping genres, and um,
yeah,
I love it when people cannot immediately say, "Oh, this
mm,
is this kind of music."
yeah,
So for me, that filled
yeah,
that
absolutely.
purpose, and yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Like with condensed milk, like when I first got Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, I like was so addicted and I was playing it all the time. And my girlfriend was getting pretty frustrated. She was like, what is this game that you're always playing? Like, and then she heard condensed milk, and then suddenly she was like super interested. Uh, because she like became obsessed with that song.
We're getting the girlfriends in too.
Yeah, that's it. Just that's
Perfect.
what you got to do. You just got to put in one cutesy song, and they're they'll be there. uh, But yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, like as someone who is fascinated with music, it's always really interesting to see that overlap of like the way that it informs like video game design. Um, so
Yep.
no, that's super super awesome.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say this is this is a regular, not at all, right?
Mm,
Uh, Nowadays, a regular is getting music composed.
yeah.
But it was always for the trick games, right? For Tony Hawk Pro
Mm.
Skater, everything was licensed in, and
Yeah.
for well, not exactly for Jet Set Radio, but they had a couple of licensed songs too.
Yeah.
And when I started doing this with the first Lethal League, I noticed like, damn, this is actually really fun. This featuring, and
Mm,
it went beyond that, where I just started to feature different kinds of things, like the graffiti is
mm,
like some of it I did myself, but a lot of it is from other artists that are just established,
yeah.
that have a personal style. And again, like the same with the music. If you bring in these graffiti artists that are just looking at the world so differently and been doing their own thing for years,
Mm,
then it's another layer, uh, another like personal
yeah.
um, uh, flair that happens in the game. Yeah. So
Mm,
yeah, graffiti, the music, and the dance, I guess. Yeah. So
yeah.
aside from my own motion capture, I brought in a lot of my friends uh, that did a lot of the breaking runs,
Yeah.
and I think for hip hop and locking, I also got someone else that was Gino. Yeah, well, I can go on, but yeah, I love
Yeah.
featuring. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so what percentage of the soundtrack? So I know like both Too Mellow and Dom both reached out to you
Yeah.
to be a part of the project. So I was wondering what percentage of people involved are people that you recruited and what percentage are people that reached out to be a part of the game?
Ah. Yeah. Yeah. So I was not used to people reaching out to us actually, because we came from Lethal League, then Lethal League Blaze. Both of them had licensed music, and we always just reached out to them. But
Yeah.
when we dropped the teasers for Bomb Rush, we saw like huge, response to it. Of course, people were feeling nostalgic about Jet Set Radio and or even other games and things, and we're like, oh shit, uh, this is what I've wanted for so long. I think through
Mhm.
that we got a lot of extra response and publicity, and then people also started to come in, like Dom, like Too Mellow, and one of the tracks from Sky Blue,
Oh yeah.
Light Switch.
Oh,
Yeah.
bro, that song. Oh my, that's hands down my favorite song on the soundtrack. That's
Oh
so cool
shit!
that
Wow. Yeah,
that's so
yeah. That
that's
was
so cool that they
that,
reached out.
yeah. That was really really fun that he reached out, and I was like, "Well, who is this? Who is this guy? Is he as
Yeah,
he's so like enthusiastic and excited, and I'm always like a bit. I'm a chill guy, so I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
whoa, what is going on? But he was so excited to do something for the soundtrack. So I checked out his music, and it was like I really liked his flow, and um yeah, it's just the vibe was so good and upbeat
mm,
that because sometimes when you go for like sick tracks all the time, then they can be quite
yeah,
dissonant and
mm,
quite like bad, as in evil sounding almost.
mm-hmm,
And so it was nice to counter that a little bit with the upbeat stuff. But
yeah,
back then, he did not have a track that really linked with the cyberness, because I do look a little bit like, okay, that track has to be sick, but also I want a bit of cyberness in the funk. So
mm,
he was plenty funky, but he did not immediately have a track
Mm.
with some cyber in it. And then he released Light Switch, and I just hit him up straight away. I said, okay, this
yeah,
one, let's go.
yeah. Good choice. That song, yeah, I love it. Like the moment you load into the hideout and you hear those opening chords, like just always hits every time.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so yeah, no, that's really cool. Um, do you have like a personal favorite song on the soundtrack,
Ooh, personal favorite.
or like
I
maybe
shouldn't be
like
picking favorites, really.
maybe like a few, like two or three, maybe if you can't pick one.
Um, so what it is actually when I'm working on the game and testing it, and playing it, and everything, you're doing this full time for a couple of years. So
Mm.
first thing you do is you mute it. You turn off the music because you're gonna like really make yourself completely crazy from listening to the same songs all the
That's
time,
how I feel about
right?
playing video games normally.
Yeah. Oh shit, yeah. Especially if you're playing like 10 hours
Exactly
of the
for long
same game.
sessions. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I started muting it and then unmuting it when we test it with the full soundtrack, which is much nicer. So
Hmm.
yeah, they've not been as spoiled as for me as could have happened. So that is nice. I'm
Yep.
looking through the track list now. Let me think. Um, it was maybe unfair because some of the later ones are more fresh to me, but
Yep.
I thought that the girl ones were really
Oh
sick.
yeah.
Yeah,
Operator.
this
Yeah.
operator is the bigger
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Um, that one was so
Already.
sick. He was
Yeah.
following our stuff on Twitter, so um,
Yeah.
or they were following our stuff, and like they've got such a good taste in like everything,
Mm.
in like music especially, but also visuals and fashion and things. So
Yeah.
really loved all their posts. But then like I saw that thing drop, and they also followed us and retweeted our stuff, so they clearly were into it.
Yeah.
So then I saw them um, release Operator,
Mm.
or I guess it was a whole bigger release, but Operator was the one that stood out to me
Yeah.
and immediately contacted them
Yeah. Yeah. That
to get it
release
in. Yeah,
also had Trinitron on it as well, which was also
yeah,
in the soundtrack.
yeah,
So
yeah. And I love the loudness of it. Like I love the
mm,
unashamed boldness of
yeah.
it, and just go
Hmm.
hard on it. And the beat actually is a popping beat, right? It's reminiscent of uh, Planet Rock and Cybertron. Like
Yeah.
really like when hip hop started to have a little futuristic phase in the beginning.
Hmm.
So to me that was actually really well connected to the idea of cyberpunk, and yeah, I still really dig it. It's such a sick beat. But yeah, the rest also. Kilowatts tracks was something that I grew up with. I found these tracks off SoundCloud at some point in like 2007 or something, and like listened to this stuff all the time. So it was crazy
Yeah.
that I remembered that and be like, oh shit, I gotta get this. I gotta get this in the game, and then we
Full
were able
circle.
to pull that off. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, all of them I stand behind. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. Yeah, no, it's really, yeah, it sounds like you really like had a good vision in terms of just unifying like all the different creative aspects. Yeah, like like you mentioned, like the graffiti and the music and the dancing, and it's like, yeah, just really cool to see a game that has clearly has such love and like respect for all those completely like different art forms. Um, and was able to pull them all together in a way that, yeah, like just really respects it, I guess. So
Yeah, it's respect, but it's also um, because I myself come from a lot of that. Like I've
yeah,
done all the things basically, done the dancing, the
mm,
skating, the graffiti, even, and a little
yeah,
bit of DJing, um, and so it comes from just a love of the subject. Yeah.
mm, yeah,
I just love
uh,
that you can tell what points in the genre's history is, im- uh, what's the word? Inspiring different parts of the game and implementing different styles that came in maybe 10 years after another. It feels like you're getting an entire spectrum and almost a history lesson on it.
Oh, like that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I get that too. That I do think that like funkiness is a timeless thing, and sometimes I get like called out by my dad like, "Hey, what do you listen to this old man music from the '70s?" Uh,
yeah.
like, no,
No,
dad, it's funk.
it's
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 new.
timeless.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is definitely. I didn't think about that, but it is like like obviously like .exe look a lot like the breakers from the '80s, whereas like Eclipse like probably look a bit more like disco, like from the 70s, you know.
Yeah,
Like it is
yeah,
actually, yeah, really. And then I guess like the Franks look a bit more like early 2000s, like skater vibes. So yeah, no, never really thought about that, but it is actually pretty cool how, yeah, there is a lot of aesthetics from a lot of different eras with each of the crews. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And some of
that's
it
quite
might be unconscious, but
yeah.
but definitely I draw a lot of the from all the
Mhm.
stuff that I'm into
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the culture
Can
that
you?
surrounds it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you do a windmill?
Can I do a windmill? My windmill is so bad.
Ah,
Oh damn. Yeah. I have a lot of freezes and tricks that I do.
uh-huh.
There's a couple of my runs in the game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I wouldn't be there. There's no easy way to point them out right now.
yeah. Hmm.
Maybe in the next game I'll like put proper credits for every dance thing.
Yeah,
That might be good.
yeah,
But yeah, my breaking style is yeah, a lot of footwork, a lot of style, a lot
yeah.
of little gimmicks and tricks. Yeah,
Hmm.
I've got a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
one
cool.
hand freezes, that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Yeah, I know. I remember when I was 14, I got pretty good at windmills, and I did a
That's kind
school
of
talent show,
badass.
and I did a
Hey,
windmill, and I was popular for like a week.
Hell yeah.
windmill boy.
Yeah, yeah, like literally, for the next week, I'd be like in a random class, and like someone would come up to me and ask me to do a windmill.
Oh,
Um,
that's kind of, that's
Yeah.
nah, that's every child's dream. That's gonna feel so cool.
uh, so
Oh, the times
that
we
trick,
always have to deal with like, what's your
yeah,
best move? Show us your best move.
no, that trick was is probably like just due to that associated memory, like probably my favorite breaking move. Um, but also like really like turtle freeze is like one that I also
Yeah.
really liked doing.
Yeah, yeah. So a friend of mine, a b-boy friend of mine who trains here all the time, called
Mm.
Mark Hendricks, and he is like specialized in those type
Hmm.
of moves. So he has a windmill, he has a baby mill, he
Yeah,
has
yeah, I learned
a
that.
lot
I
of turtle freezes. He did
learned
like
Fairy
most of
Mill as
the
well.
power moves. I think he also did the flares that the .x crew do.
Okay, that's
I think
cool.
he
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did all the power moves basically.
No,
Yeah, but
I was.
the real popular b-boy is Stepper from Rugged's
Yeah.
crew, who did a lot of the b-boy runs,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's fun because I grew up with him, and we
Yeah, that's
also
awesome.
skated together. Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, I was really happy to see a lot of top rock in the game as well. Because I feel like that's an underrated part of breakdancing, I think. Um, like
yeah, yeah,
obviously everyone's always really impressed by the big power moves, but they don't realize how that all of that stuff needs to be connected by, yeah, like footwork and good top rock and stuff like that.
yeah. Indeed, it's really funny when we showed it and people started asking like, "What's this dance style? What's this? What's
Mm,
this thing you're doing?" And it's just breaking. Well, it's a part of breaking, but it's funny that
yeah.
none of the people associated with that, unless you start doing windmills, then they'd be like,
Yeah.
ah, okay,
No,
yeah,
literally, yeah. Like I
yeah,
one of my like favorite moves to do is like Brooklyn Rock. Obviously like fairly
yeah,
basic, but it's just a fun move to do, and like no one ever like knows that it's breakdancing.
yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
but thank you so much for coming on
No, this
and
was a
doing
great
this.
conversation. I love hearing your in-depth look on the behind the scenes of it. It really gives me, and I think anyone who's listening, a great lens to look at the world that you created in. It feels with the added context, it feels very, very you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah. Thanks so much for the opportunity. It's fun to talk about this stuff, and I really also love to, see people get inspired by the stuff that I do,
Yeah.
and see that it's not only
Mm,
service games and like corporate
yeah.
stuff.
Mm,
You can actually, if you really do like
yeah.
200%, you can make it to a
Yeah.
point where you can just like art your way into it, as in
Absolutely.
just do
Hell
the
yeah.
stuff you think is dope. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just wanted to go back to a comment you made sort of at the beginning where you said that it was really cool how games like Tony Hawk would get people outside and doing that stuff. And I actually know a girl who's gotten into inline skating because of Bomb Rush. So
That's
Hey,
it's
awesome.
yeah, so it's really cool. I guess for you to have that view on Tony Hawk and how that impacted you, and now I guess you're continuing that legacy of creating games that get people involved in the activities in the games. Um, so
that's the highest. That's the highest I can do.
yeah,
To have that's the biggest impact I can make is to inspire
yeah,
people to get out and do fun things, make friends, and
yeah.
have a nicer life. Because shit, all this stuff is so fun. That's really
Mhm.
what it's about.
Yeah, well, it's made me thinking about getting back into breaking. Because it's probably been a good few years since I was into it.
Hey, yeah,
So
Yeah, we need to get
yeah,
you
it
doing
still
it
is.
on live.
yeah,
See that windmill again, yeah.
yeah. Cool.
Well, all
Alrighty.
right. Thank you, everybody,
Well,
of
yeah. Thanks for
listening to
chatting,
the
Dion. Appreciate
Neighborhood
it.
Radio. Follow Dion on Twitter, Instagram. You have want to shout out anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah, we just actually, if I could plug something, we just
Yep.
opened up the pre-orders for the Bomber Cyberpunk vinyl soundtrack. So that's a
Oh,
Ooh.
record in there in this sleeve that is got 32 tracks, so the whole soundtrack of the game. So
Alrighty. That's
yeah,
pretty
get on
hectic.
top of that if
Okay.
you want. Yeah.
Awesome.
all
Definitely got to
right.
check that one out.
Well, you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining Neighborhood Radio.
Yeah, no problem. All right, see
Alrighty.
you
See ya.
guys
Peace out.
later.